Please be seated. Like most people, I got some mixed messages as a child. My mother told us to use please when we wanted something or when we asked someone to do something. She also reminded us to say thank you when we got that for which we had asked. Yet there she was every Saturday morning, arms akimbo, issuing commands and barking orders. Clean your room, weed 2 rows in the garden, and you empty the dishwasher. No please, no thank you. There was only one appropriate response to Mom when she was in command mode. Obedience. Now that I am a parent, I know there were plenty of pleases throughout the week. They just went unheeded. By the time Saturday rolls around, desperate times call for desperate measures. I, too, have been known to take a command and control parenting posture. You take out the garbage now. To this day, I bristle when I feel people are issuing dictums. I do not like to be ordered around, unless, of course, there is an emergency and I am called to put out the fire or call 911. Commands seem perfectly appropriate in a crisis. One would think orders and commands wouldn't be necessary in communities of faith or families or friendships. So what is up with Jesus commanding us to love one another? I do not need to be commanded to love. I do not need to be obedient in order to love. I love a lot. I love my husband and my children, my family, my friends, and my church. I love my cats. I love sunny days. I love the 1975 Nickel Creek show tunes and Palestrina. I love mangoes, artichokes, and peanut butter. Not all together, of course. I love reading. I love playing outside, and girl, I love that outfit. If Jesus were with us right now, I'm sure he'd smile nicely because he's that kind of guy. But he'd also be compelled to tell us that I practice sloppy agape. And Jesus would be right. We throw the word love around carelessly. We use the word love like it isn't beautiful, special, messy, and costly. The Gospel of John, and most of the New Testament for that matter, were originally written in Greek. In the 1st century, the Greek language had multiple words for the English word love. Early Christian thinkers believed that the love of God, as experienced in the life, ministry, and death of Jesus, was a different, a special kind of love. They were careful to differentiate the love of God from philia, the Greek concept of familial love, and from eros, the Greek understanding of romantic love. They took a classical Greek word for love, agape, that had fallen out of common usage, and gave that word a new, distinctly Christian meaning. Agape, the love Jesus commands us to, is a virtue, an excellence God has by nature, an excellence that we are invited to participate in by grace. Such love is primarily interested in the good of others rather than one's own good. This love does not attempt to possess or dominate the other. This love is superabundant and can be offered without reserve. The love Jesus commands is a disciplined habit of care and concern that, like all virtues, can be perfected only over a lifetime. As Jesus observes, this love should be woven so deeply into our lives that we might even find ourselves called to die for love. Jesus commands us to love because obedience and love are connected. To love or not to love is our choice. We have free will. Yet, even when love is our choosing, there is at the heart of that love the boundaries and the patterns that determine relationships. Because I am married, this is what I will do, and this is what I will not do. Perhaps love without obedience isn't really love. Perhaps this is what Jesus is confronting us with in his own life. Love is never love on its own terms or on our terms. Love is a relationship, so love is always tied to obedience, because obedience is about hearing, recognizing, and bending ourselves into the will, needs, and desires of the one who is before us. That is true, whether the one before us is God, our spouse, our child, a friend, or the homeless man on the bench up at the train station. A lot rides on our ability to be disciplined and obedient in our loving. The refrain of an old John Mayer song comes to mind. Fathers, be good to your daughters. They're going to love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. We all have our share of dinks and dents left by those who were undisciplined in their loving. If we have lived long enough, chances are we have inflicted our own share of damage as well. The opposite, of course, is true, and even more so. There are people whose love is so abundant and authentic that in meeting them, you know that Jesus really did know what he was talking about. Time in their presence makes a world of hurt seem bearable. They inspire us to be like them. The Church of the Holy Spirit is chock full of people who love in this way. The love Jesus commands us to is truly a mystery, something we could never achieve on our own, as if the image of the divine given to us in our creation and sealed in our baptism is somehow set ablaze. According to Jesus, this love is something we cannot will for ourselves. This love comes from our Creator and flows through us. This love is countercultural, and I believe is the only force strong enough to save us from ourselves. I do not descend into despair when I see pictures of the destruction caused by earthquakes in Nepal, or hear reports of violence on the streets of Baltimore, or read that 1 in 7 people are food insecure right here in Lake County. I do not despair because of agape and because I know you, all y'all. The Church of the Holy Spirit has the inspiration, the intellect, and the influence to take on societal ills like systematic racism, poverty, homelessness, and environmental devastation, and to make a huge difference. This is the work God calls you to. This is the beautiful, special, messy, costly love that Jesus commands. Finally, this love, agape, is what makes saying goodbye to you so very, very hard. So I offer you this. I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just get started, then before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long.